And welcome to Ask Your Academic. Today's session will cover the MSc Precision Medicine and Pharmacological Innovation. We're joined by our programme lead and some members of our programme administration team, and they're here to answer any questions you may have about the programme. If after the session you have any further questions, you can get in touch with the administration team, and you can find those details on the programme webpage near the top of the page in a blue box. And if you've got any questions that are specific to your application, I'll pop some useful links into the chat box for you. We are recording today's session, so if there's anything that you miss, you'll be able to go back on and see that, and that'll be sent to you over the next few days. So we do only have a short amount of time, so we'll have our panel introduce themselves, and then Martin, if you could give a wee overview of the programme. So Laura, would you like to go first?
Hi there, I'm Laura Grant. Sorry, it's a bit noisy in here. I'm in the office, but I am one of the PGT deputy managers here in the MVLS Graduate School. I'll pass you on to Melissa.
Hi, I'm Melissa Scott. I am the programmes administrator for this programme. So if you have any administrative questions at all during your time here, then feel free to contact me.
Okay, my name is Dr. Martin McBride. I'm a co-director of the PMPI, which is how we describe the program because it's too long, pharmacological and precision medicine and pharmacological innovation. I'm a senior lecturer in the School of Cardiovascular and Metabolic Health, and I have research interests in cardiovascular disease, including hypertension and cardiac hypertrophy. And I provide some leadership for the PMPI program. And Naomi wishes me to give a couple of sentences about the program. I've actually got some slides that I'd like to share, actually, just so we can cut through the chaff. So I'm just going to share just now. So first of all, why Scotland to do precision medicine? Well, Scotland has a fantastic tradition of excellence in clinical research and biomedicine, with a significant investment in new science of precision medicine. And precision medicine, it's a relatively new concept, but there's a big buy-in from academia, industry, and the NHS. Principally because it's a better way to diagnose people with an early intervention, with a better options for treatment. So this is the concept behind the triple helix: industry, academia, and NHS. And we work closely with the Precision Medicine Innovation Centre based in the Queen Elizabeth Hospital site, and also the more recently established the Living Laboratory, both of which have got significant funding from the Scottish Funding Council. So this programme, it sits in the School of Cardiovascular and Metabolic Health. Professor Dame Anna Dominicek is a Regis Professor of Medicine, and she's a big supporter of precision medicine. And she was heavily involved in the startup of this particular programme. We're also supported by our head of school, which is Professor Christian Dellis. And what's unique about this particular programme is that it's not just offered by the University of Glasgow, it's also offered by the University of Glasgow, Aberdeen, Strathclyde, Edinburgh, and Dundee. Now, this is unique. As far as I know, it's the only MSc that offers this type of teaching from the different universities. So the programme leads in Glasgow are Professor Sandos Padmanabhan, myself. We have a cohort of students that sit within Aberdeen, and the lead in Aberdeen is Andrew Porter. Melissa Scott, I haven't got a photograph of you, Melissa just joined the team. Who's probably the most important person of everyone I'm showing here, actually, to be perfectly honest. And our external examiner that looks after the programme, checks up on us that we're doing a good job for you guys, is Professor Mark Lawler from Queen's University, Belfast. And of course, this is precision medicine. Precision or stratified medicine is recognised as the future for the diagnosis and treatment of disease. This idea that the blockbuster drug, the one-size-fits-all paradigm has now served, it has served well, but is now seen increasingly as inefficient and unaffordable, whether it's from been able to reach target blood pressure or adverse drug reactions, to quote some examples. So for this particular program, there are three really important points that I think are important to consider. Firstly, this program is funded by the Scottish Funding Council, which means they pay your MSc tuition fees. But because it's funding from the SFC, it's only open to domiciled home students or settled students. As I've already highlighted, the teaching is provided by 5 different universities. The idea here is that we attract teaching from the best or the most appropriate for the precision medicine program. And as I said, the 5 stakeholder universities are Glasgow, Aberdeen, Strathclyde, Dundee, and Edinburgh. And then the MSc is formally awarded by the universities of Glasgow, Aberdeen, and Strathclyde. This is to do with the proportion of teaching that each university gives. And then another standout feature of this program is the type of research project we offer. It isn't just with an academic setting. We do offer projects within the academic setting, but more importantly, we give the opportunity to work with small, medium-sized enterprise companies for the MSc summer project. This is a 12-week project that's undertaken with the company. We also have a lot of buy-in from the NHS. And there are still some students that still come and join the program and still wish to undertake a master's project within an academic setting, principally because they really feel that they want to move on to a PhD. So this is what the program looks like. So in semester 1, we don't offer many choice. In fact, we don't offer any choice now in semester 1. We're keen to anchor you within the concept of precision medicine, with courses offered by Aberdeen, Strathclyde, Dundee, and Glasgow. And this precision diagnostic and therapeutic course is shared by a number of other programs offered by Glasgow. Semester 2, there's only a couple of core things that we ask you to take, based around pharmacogenomics and molecular medicine. And then, as well as doing that in semester 2, there's a number of choices. And to make sure we hit each of our pillars, we offer courses within the commercialization of science, as well as the application of research and evaluation technologies. So we ask you to do one from each of these, and then one from either. So that gives us the 3 pillars: the scientific basis of precision medicine, commercialization of science, and, as I've said, the application of research and evaluation of new technologies. I'm not going to go through these details, but this is really for the recording. And then, as I say, most of the students consider an absolutely key part of this program is the opportunity to work with small, medium-sized enterprise companies. All of these companies, they don't offer each and every year, but each of these companies have offered projects to us over the last few years. As you can see, there's a big buy-in from the NHS as well. And it's not always easy to get buy-in from the, or to do this kind of projects with the NHS, so this is a good opportunity. We've had recent, because of COVID, we've been able to go just beyond Scotland, and we have colleagues in Oxford that have offered projects on a remote basis, as well as closer to home with Bioclavis. So these are just, again, really for the recording, something for you to look at. These are some titles that we've offered in the past. And I wasn't going to say too much about that, but one of the other things you're probably really interested in is what happens to the students after their MSc. So actually, we've been quite successful with placing students. One of the reasons why I think students find this so attractive with the SMEs is because they consider it to be almost like, or it could be viewed as, a 12-week interview. And a number of students each year are given the opportunities to go on and be employed by the companies we work with. Companies recently include Bioclavis, Canon, Antibody Analytics, MedPace, so on. We've had clinicians that have been on the program, and of course, quite a few people go on and do PhDs. Again, something for the recording in terms of what students have found good about this program. It comes to, I think it really centers around the projects and the variety of teaching you get from the different universities. That brings its own unique issues, but it's a wonderful opportunity to have teaching from the other universities. And some contact details, myself, Martin McBride, Melissa, and the Precision Medicine and Pharmacological Innovation website is listed there as well. Okay, so that's a brief introduction to the program. Happy to discuss in more detail if we have any questions.
Thanks, Martin. Apologies for if that was a bit distracting there. My charger was running low. I think I fixed it now, so apologies if I was jumping in and out your screen. We do have a couple of wee questions there. One of them was, how do I know that my SFC funding has been approved?
Right, this is something that always causes a bit of trouble each year. On application, you will fill out a form that we get, and we will be able to assess that quite quickly. So we will go back to you really quickly. The rule of thumb is that if you're either born and raised in Scotland or you're settled in Scotland, domiciled in Scotland, then you have access to the SFC funding.
Perfect. And we also offer another programme at the university, MSc Precision Medicine with Specialisms. Can you tell us the differences between that programme and this programme, the Pharmacological Precision Medicine with Pharmacological Innovation?
Right. So they serve aligned purpose because the PMS, the other precision medicine programme, is offered to everyone in the world. So to international students as well as home and UK students. So they're both based in precision medicine. But there's a different focus. With the other programme, you have the opportunity to focus on a particular research area, such as cardiovascular disease, immunology, or cancer. In our programme, the unique features which are pointed out include SFC funding, projects. Although some projects are offered to the third sector with the other programme as well. But really, the big difference I think between the two is that about a third of the programme offered by PMPI is really to introduce life sciences students to the business aspect of precision medicine. There's a big emphasis on exposing you to things that you will never have been exposed to during your undergraduate teaching. Access to business, access to entrepreneurs, access to how to develop an idea from the start to take it through to the commercial sector. But you don't lose the academic or science side of things as well. I mean, you know, we're anchored in that as well. There's about a third of that. But yeah, I guess in one sense, you've got an emphasis on biology, an emphasis on the commercial sector more than the other programme.
Thank you. Apologies, I lost connection. And then another one was, what sort of preparations can students make before joining the programme?
Yeah, that's, that again is something we're offered, we're asked each year. My honest answer would be it's a year-long programme. So my strongest recommendation probably would be to, between the end of your finals or whenever you're thinking of coming to do a master's, make sure you have a rest over the summer, because we have a year in which to keep you busy. So I think there's basic background reading that you could do, but there's no necessity to do that. And I think it's more important to rest, recover, so that you're ready to go mid-September when we kick off the programme, because it's a whole year. And there's not much, there's a lot of, there's a teaching component, takes us up to and the exams take us up to the end of April, beginning of May. And then you'll be starting your project end of May. So I would probably say rest and recover so we can start really well in middle of September. Anything, sorry, just to put a caveat on that, any contact with the directors, well, that's welcome as well. Informal contact, you want a bit of reading, happy to do that. Or, I'll be more than happy to do that. So contact me on a case by case, and I'll happily provide you with some reading.
Great, and we're often asked about sort of class time. So how much class time do students typically get versus what's expected of them out with independent learning?
Yeah, that's hard to be prescriptive about, actually, because it changes depending on the courses that you've been offered, but probably 1 or 2 days a week. I'd probably say you would have some contact. And then there's a chunk of independent learning, which is a really important part of postgraduate learning. Projects can differ again. If it's still, if you've taken up a project in Oxford, for example, they tend to be online, and therefore you can have a couple of Zoom meetings a week, followed by independent learning. If you're coming to work with me in the lab, then I would expect you, because it'll be a wet lab investigative type project, I would expect, because most students come to me to learn techniques, so we'd be maybe 3, 4, 5 days a week in the lab for the 12 weeks.
Perfect. And you touched on it a little bit, but what are the different sort of assessment methods throughout the programme?
Again, this is course dependent, but we've moved away from just wholly relying on final exams. So there's some quite innovative teaching and learning, particularly in the precision medicine program course that you get in first semester, where I think something like 20% of the mark is given to a debate that's held. And initially, I was a bit unsure about this, actually, but the debates are absolutely fantastic, and the students really, really get into them. It's really, especially if you come up with a question and you assign students to one half of the question, and then you assign the other half to the other half of the question, the people start getting a bit upset about the fact that their side is easier to argue. But we choose the question very carefully, and you'd be surprised, actually, how well you can argue an argument from 2 different sides. It's really excellent. Apart from that, we have standard hand-ins. There's a bit of multiple choice. There's a bit of coursework, essays, and then we do have a couple of final exams, but not that many.
And something we're always sort of asked is, what sort of size are the classes? So the different courses, how many students tend to sort of be in those?
Yeah, again, it's hard to be prescriptive because it changes quite a bit. So I don't know how to concisely answer that question. Precision medicine program in the course in the first semester, you're probably limited to the class 35 plus another 20 or so from the other precision medicine program. I guess because we are limited to 35 for this particular SFC funded program, that's the minimum size that we tend to get because you'll be offered as a class. But it can get quite big. Some of the courses are very popular, especially the pharmacogenomics. So we probably have over 100 in those particular classes. But it's right. But I teach in that course as well. It's great. I've never found it particularly arduous to teach on those courses.
I think that sounds like a nice mix, though, because you'll be meeting people from other programmes and able to sort of mix and meet people from all over the world, I suppose. So that's quite nice, I suppose, for our students. Yeah,
it's probably not something which I didn't emphasise too much. You'd find out this, about this more induction. That it is, we've quite a large intake of master students on a number of different programmes, And some of the courses are shared with them, so that, you're right, Naomi, it's this opportunity to mix and match, and I think the students enjoy that. The students have the same opportunity with the other universities as well. They mix and match with Strathclyde, they mix and match with some of the Edinburgh students. The Dundee teaching tends to be focused on PMPI, but with Aberdeen students as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's a really nice mix. And I suppose something that we're always asked is there sort of opportunity for students to get involved with any sort of research that's going on within the college or the schools out with their project? We find that a lot of students come very ambitious and eager to take on as much as they can, and what a lot of the time it is a case of they maybe don't realise the extent of what their MSc will take and how much work they need to put in. But if they did have maybe a bit of spare time, is there any other sort of additional things they can get involved with?
I think as a program director, I'd be more inclined to say, I think you're going to have enough on your plate. 60 credits per semester. I can't remember a year going by with students complaining to me that they've got too much time on their hands. I genuinely think they're right into it from day one with the precision medicine course, and one other thing I would say is that because there can be quite strong competition for the projects that we offer during the summer, and I should emphasize that we have to make a selection. We do give students an option, or at least some input in terms of the type of project that they're looking for. But if a particular project is popular and many students choose it, we have to make a choice, and we make that choice in GPA. So how well they're performing within their exams. And these tend to be from, because it's when we have them, it tends to be based on the GPA from semester one. So I would encourage all students to do as well as they can from day one, because that may be important in terms of what project they'll be finally offered.
Thank you. I think your slides at the start really covered a lot of questions that we typically sort of get. I don't know if there's anything that you feel we've maybe missed out or that you'd like to add in.
Just one more thing, which is, as an advisor of studies, I would also recommend, you talked about students being very ambitious. I would expect that with the students which are coming to study at Glasgow. But there's other things to do apart from academic studies as well. There's a wonderful social active sports. There's lots of other things to consider doing. And I think a balance to the studies is probably something that we should think about as well.
Laura, Melissa, I don't know if there's anything that you're often asked by students or approached by students about that you think would be worthwhile adding just before we finish the session?
I think everything's been covered. Like you say, Martin's slides at the start were very helpful. So no, nothing else to add.
Perfect. Well, thank you. That covered a lot of information there. So thanks, Martin, for preparing those slides, and thanks for all our panel for taking the time out of your busy days to join us. We have recorded this session today, so we'll get that sent out to you and uploaded to our website. And as I said, if there's any further questions you have, you can send those to the programme administration team inbox, and they'll get back to you with lots of helpful information. So thanks again, and hopefully we'll see you all here in September. So thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.